Yes, we're live today. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to know where you're connecting from. Like to have your name and where you're connecting from. Welcome to today's episode. And before we bring you up our guest, I'd like to introduce myself and also play the intro video. Just a moment.
Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's the John Maxwell team. Our certified members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today.
Hi, I'm Sandra Ukoh, a John Maxwell team certified speaker, coach, trainer, and an author. I am passionate about helping people to be their best versions, but my specialties are speaking and coaching. As a certified speaker and coach with the John Maxwell team, not only am I equipped with a host of top-tier development resources to share with you, but I myself have been taught and trained by one of the world's foremost leadership experts, John C. Maxwell, who has been an authority on leadership for more than 40 years. And if he's taught me anything about coaching and teaching, is that teaching is ultimately serving. And I'm here to serve. I'm here to provide you with the tools that you will use to multiply your results. I'm here to help you grow yourself, your team, your organization beyond your barriers. That is why I love what I do. And if you want that for yourself, I like to do it for you too. Whether you are looking for insights on leadership communication, goal setting, or other personal growth and development principles, I have time-tested programs available that would fit your needs. I offer individually and group work, as well as online or in person. We can meet during your hours of operation or after work. Again, I am here for you to help you grow at your pace, on your platform, and your capacity. Contact me today to invest in your company's next level of performance. Welcome to another episode of Making a Difference with Sandra Ukoh, a live show that brings people on the platform where we can glean from, where we alight and also celebrate and recognize leaders who dare to make a difference from all over the world for doing great things in their world. I believe there's a giant in you waiting to be discovered in a nest. You have within you right now all that you need to become that change agent and best version of you that God has made you to be. It is time to ignite you and discover your greater potential and to see the possibilities that exist within you to maximize your potential through this unique platform for mentoring and coaching, and how we can become better versions of ourselves after being through the stage of survival to success and to living a life of significance, where we can leverage the power of storytelling as a strong communication tool. So let's celebrate these leaders and join us on another incredible segment of Making a Difference live show with your host, Sandra Ukoh. You're welcome. So glad to have you on this show today, and I hope you all felt welcome. And just before I bring in our guests, I'd like quickly want to read about. I have already been introduced. I don't need to introduce myself again. I'm Sandra Ukoh, and I have a guest with me, and a phenomenal guest who is making a difference in the world. Her name is Miss Gina. She's an advocate, author, speaker, educator, and leader with a heart for service. Since 2001, Ms. Worth has served as a leader for more than 20 boards and developed 3 nonprofit organizations. Since 2010, she has taught local schools, youth groups, meeting with youth to help them identify their personal and professional goals. I experienced as a college instructor, global career development facilitator, organizational leader, strategist, and member of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member, have more than prepared her to assist individuals enhance their leadership skills and their teams and organization. For 10 years, Mrs. Ward served as a full-time faculty member in human resource, human development, and family studies, with an administrative appointment to create and oversee the Student Success Center and Career Development Programming at Penn State Fayette, the Emberley campus. While employed as a college instructor, she began a formal coaching, training, and speaking career, joining the John Maxwell team in December 2012. Just a short 3 years later, Mrs. Ward was commissioned by the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member to lead the development of the new youth leadership curriculum in partnership with Christian evangelist, best-selling author Nick Vujicic. Gina developed the Youth Max Plus, an international youth leadership curriculum exclusively presented by the John Maxwell team members. Through this curriculum, John Maxwell team members connect with youth throughout the world in meaningful ways to help them identify and pursue and fulfill their purpose in their lives. In 2017, Mrs. Wertz more formally joined the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member as the first Global Director and Faculty for the Youth and Family Division. During that same year, Mrs. Ward led the launch of the Team Global Youth Initiative. Through their service, Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member has hosted more than 1.5 million youths at free leadership development events in more than 100 countries around the world. In addition to our oversight of GYI, that's the youth, she has led the development of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Teen Youth Certification and assisted with the launch of Dr. Deborah Tillman Parents and Family Engagement Certification, both of which launched in 2019. Mrs. Watt now serves as the youth program mentor and faculty for the team. And I'm going fast forward to 2015. Gina, in partnership with her mother, Janet Jones, and her extended family, launched the Lillian Legacy Scholarship Fund at the Community Foundation of Fayette County. The fund was developed in honor of her grandmother, Lillian Kaposer, and provides scholarships to support Fayette County students pursuing post-secondary school education. Since its inception, the fund has awarded 10 scholarships. Gina is a proven leader, and she's passionate to help others stretch beyond their current situation to reach their goals and live out their dreams. As a servant leader in the home, Gina is a wife to Eric and mother to Kristen and Eric Jr. Those two roles bring her to the most joyful moment of her life. And so right now, the next person you get to see with me is Gina herself. So you're welcome, man. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be on with you today and just to be connected to you through our Maxwell Leadership family.
Yeah, and that's a great platform to be. And that's why, I could beat my heart and be sure that whoever I'm bringing on board, I can certify that they are great men and women. So I am sure of that by the grace of God. So I want to thank you for making this and making this show. I want to find out, is there anything I didn't say in your bio or resume that you're doing right now that you want to share, you want to throw more lights on?
Yeah, no. I mean, one, my bio is obnoxious. Man, that was long. I need to edit that.
Oh my God.
It's out of control. It truly is a pleasure. If I had to like just give 2 sentences for things that really I would want to highlight, it would be just my calling. And I am very fortunate that at a young age, I resonated with serving young people. I've always done it. It's always been in me. Even as a young person, I served young people. And to this day, I still get to do it in professionally and informally. And so, I think the thing that would resonate, that I would want to resonate with people is just the calling that's on my life to serve young people.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. I think that's the platform I got to meet you. Though
Yeah,
I was, yeah, I think I joined the youth just, when you have teenagers, you want to learn and get some other skills and
yeah,
bringing up those teenagers who are fast becoming men.
yes,
You have to
yeah,
learn how to, treat them and interact with them. That's a great one. And before we go into the session proper, I want to find out what's the passion that's driving you to
yeah.
gathering all the skills, all these, higher studies, training, personal development. What's your passion? What's driving you?
Yeah, sure. I would say honestly, it's my faith. I mentioned it in terms of a calling, but I think that when you get clarity about what you're called to do in your life,
Yeah.
the, and if you have a faith, and for me, I'm a Christian, and so living out my Christian faith and connecting what I know that I'm called to do to that Christian faith really propels me to serve the way that I do and to be passionate about it. I'm sure you've heard people say that it's not work when you get to enjoy it, and I genuinely just don't think of it as work. I think of it as something that I get to do. And adding value to young people or adding value to adults who want to serve young people. That just is it. It's simple to say yes to all the opportunities that are presented to me because it's connected to my calling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's this saying that said, it said, you are paid for your career and you're made for your calling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So once you're made for your calling, it's easy for you to just swing into action to do what
Yeah.
you love to do. And you don't see it as a chore, neither do you see it as something, you know, uh, I'm being inconvenient, I'm being stretched beyond my limit. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that you love to do, something that you're passionate about. And that's a great one, having a clarity of what you're called to do,
Yeah.
having a clarity of your why, understanding why, why you're doing what you do. What's
Mm-hmm.
the driving force? The moment you understand what your why is, then you're able to work with clarity. You're able to work with joy. You're
Mm-hmm.
able to work with so much passion, knowing that even when you're sleeping, when you don't feel like doing it, when you're called upon to do it, you're excited to do it because you're full of joy, because this is what you have been made to do. But what you're not made to do, if you're called to do it, you're going to grumble or
Mm-hmm.
complain or
Mm-hmm.
murmur. You won't do it with the right passion, and there'll be no joy backing what you do. Thank you so much for that passion that you have. I
Oh
can see
yeah,
that you've been doing this for so many years. When
I
any
have.
time you had challenges, you're dealing with youth, I know this side of the word. If you're not careful, the youth are like, they're not well tutored. They can speak in school. There's no much discipline in school. So have
Mm-hmm.
you coped? Because I get back, my kids come back from school, they tell me, "Oh, mommy, there was a guy that was rude to my teacher today. He
Mm-hmm.
said these, and sometimes when teachers are in front of them, they said these." Have you been able to cope and go through this process? Because I know sometimes it could be difficult and
Yeah.
painful when you're giving so much and you're getting that result.
Yeah. That's a great question. So I think just going back to what I said about my passion and thinking about the work that I get to do, like my posture, I challenge myself every day to have a posture of get to, that I'm not required to, that it's not a have to, but it's a get to, because that's my posture when I go into it, even on my hardest days. I'm able to have a positive attitude, and even if for a moment I am stressed and I'm overwhelmed or I'm frustrated in a situation, I can still take a minute and reflect and change my posture so that I can show up well for the young person in front of me. Because the reality is if a young person is having a hard day and they're maybe throwing a tantrum, or they're feeling and out of control or out of sorts,
Yeah.
they're responding to something else. It's typically not what's in front of them. It's related to a lot of other things that are going on within them, and oftentimes they're looking for someone to take a minute and listen and ask them questions. John talks about good leaders ask great questions, and so when you
Mm.
have a posture of positivity as well as that you don't know it all, and that you sit and you can learn. A thing that I really encourage my staff to do, the faculty that I lead for the Maxwell organization, or anybody that I'm equipping to serve youth, is to have a humble spirit and to ask questions, and to have a attitude that young people can also teach us. It's not us that always have to be equipping them. There's things that we can learn from young people. And when you have that attitude, when you have that posture, even on those hard days, you can kind of sit with a really difficult situation and have a positive response. So, I'll give you an example. I ran a summer program last summer. And typically I have a staff member that runs that, but we were low on staff and I still wanted to have the program. I was fortunate enough to have a $300,000 grant contract to be able to facilitate it. And so I wanted to make sure that we were able to use the money to serve the young people that were registered. And so we had about 60 kids and 8 staff. And we had probably 3 or 4 young people, maybe 4 young people, between the ages of kindergarten and 6th grade. Primarily, we had a group of older kids that helped out as assistants, but who just had a hard time. They had a hard time adjusting. I had a young person throw table. I had a young person kick and scream, and so those were very hard days. There was many days that I was sitting out in the hallway on the floor and, just holding them and like calming them down until their parents came. But the reality is that these young people are coming back from a pandemic, right? They've been at home. Parents did as best as they could.
Yeah.
And a lot of young people had no structure, had no
plan, as in they didn't see it coming.
Yeah. No plans for their days. They kind of just did what they wanted to do. And then now we're going to put them back into a structured environment where there's expectations and there's rules. And so what I'm talking about, like kindergartners and 1st graders who were tantruming like this and throwing tables and just overwhelmed with emotion. And we had to make a hard decision about 2 of the young people that we just couldn't serve because it was taking away from the larger group, as well as they were endangering themselves. And so I had to work with mom and dad on those plans. But it was several days before I had to make that decision, because I was going to do everything I could, because I get to be in that space with them. And there might be something that they learn from us in that space that's going to help them for the rest of their lives even.
Sure.
So, yeah. It's not all good days, but when they're hard days, I still can have a positive attitude.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one, that's because you have a passion on what you do. So even when it looks like things are not working out, you're trying to self-talk yourself to, to be calm and to see how you can manage them coming out with the best footing. Like you rightly said, good leaders ask straight questions. And you must have an humble spirit. And true, to serve youths and to serve kids, a lot of them might be having what you call the identity crisis. They're trying to find themselves. And sometimes they yet to find themselves. So they just go with everything they see, maybe any friend that's having a stronger influence. And so at those particular time, as leaders, we are meant to just come to their level. Like you rightly said, be humble to be able to hear them out, ask them questions. And as youth, we can also learn from these youth. Some of them are great leaders too. And they have great skills that you can learn from too. So you can deal with these difficult situations and see how you can manage them. Because they could be your kids too. What would you do? Would you throw them out? You would have to just find a way around it to manage them. And one of the reasons I think a lot of youths, when they are not well managed, they turn out to be deviant. They go out of rule. And that's because no one is listening to them. Because a lot of times you will find that, why would the youths who's probably behaving right and all of a sudden just turn out to be bad? There's something going on. So as leaders, we're meant to calm ourselves down, come to the issues, have what you call empathy, to be able to hear them out, Because if you can hear them out, you probably treat them that they are bad, and they will try to be defensive. And being defensive, they will throw out more tantrums. So in calming them down, like you rightly said, see how
Mm-hmm.
you can work around the situation by asking them straight questions, helping them come out from that moment, and start thinking positive. That's a
And
great.
I have to say, Sandra, for those that are listening and they've been like, "Oh, I've been thinking about working with young people, but hearing that, I don't ever want to do something like that." The reality is that those are rare moments. Those aren't the typical moments that I've encountered with young people.
Yeah.
I it's very rare that that happens, but it does happen, and you just have to be prepared for it and have a posture of like that people still can add value even when they're having a hard time. And I think in an age where we like things in an instant, we like quick messages, we like quick fixes, we want things to be right and we want them right now. We forget to have patience with one another, and we
Sure.
forget that we might be one way today, but tomorrow we can be better. And because we forget that, we lose opportunities to grow with people, whether adults or young people. And so the amount of grace and mercy that we want to be given, we should be extending to each other.
Yeah, and that's a great one you just said, extending the kind of, and as you said, yeah, you treat people the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said rightly, showing mercy to them because you want mercy to be extended to you. And
Mm-hmm.
like John Maxwell rightly said, he said, a man of purpose must value relationship. You
Mm-hmm.
must value others, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
the situations are.
No matter
You
what.
must, yeah, you must value them. They could be bad today, maybe throwing tantrums, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to judge them by what they are acting, what they
Mm-hmm.
are going through.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be situations, hormonal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be hormonal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be influences from other things, maybe drugs or something else. We have to be calm. We have to value the relationship and how to help them get back on their feet to being who they are called to be. But
Mm-hmm.
rather than just judging them, we shouldn't. We ought not to judge them because you
Mm-hmm.
never know where they're coming from. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why, as a leader, you must have the spirit of empathy and not just being sympathetic.
Yes.
Put yourself in their shoes. What could they be going through at that particular time? What could be that force that is disturbing them, that is causing such a person to behave that way? And
Mm-hmm.
that's why a lot of times for youth, they have a lot of information now out
Mm-hmm.
there. So
Mm-hmm.
as leaders, we are there to help them to sieve those information.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the way they act is based on the information they get from social media. And
Right.
sometimes I tell people, I said there are three things you must watch out for when you have youth around you.
Mm-hmm.
They must watch out for the resources that get into them. What
Mm-hmm.
resources are they open to? Are they on social media 24 hours? What movie, what station on the TV do they watch?
Mm-hmm.
Who speaks to them? Who are the people who speaks to them? If they're in an abusive relationship, abusive home, they're going to act very weird.
Mm-hmm.
So a child has been shown love from home will show love to others.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they said hurting people hurt people. Just on extreme cases, people go out of their way to say, "Oh, yes, I've been hurt, but I want
Mm-hmm.
to live right. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be. I don't want to hurt any other person." So we
Mm-hmm.
have to be, have to get to a state in life where we empathize with them, find
Mm-hmm.
out what situation, what background, where they're coming from. And the second one is who are the people they hang around?
Mm-hmm.
What environments are they growing?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if they're in an abusive environment,
Mm-hmm.
it's not their fault. They can't help the situation. And
Right.
that's why sometimes as teachers, tutors, leaders, we might want to hear them out to find out what's going on wrong, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share something with me? Do you want to say something? When we probe further, they're able to speak out and we're able to help them.
For
But
sure.
when we try to want to react based on the reaction or based on what they are giving back to us, we tend to want to judge them and we tend to want to put them at the corner and
Mm-hmm.
then pushing them out. So there are
Mm-hmm.
three things we must watch for them: the resources that brings information to their hearts,
Mm-hmm.
the environment they grow are in, who are the people that speak to them, who are the people they hang around. So you might want to find out these three information in order to help them to become the youth they are meant to be, to become a growing leader they ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I want
Agreed.
to say thank you for that. You want to say
Yeah.
something?
No, I was just going to say, I completely agree. That was spot on. And I think sometimes too, even in asking questions, sometimes it's just a matter of sitting still near them. Do you know what I mean? And allowing the conversation to happen naturally. Sometimes too, it can feel like, we're being interrogated. And really, we just need somebody to be present to us. I don't know if you've ever read the book or if your audience has ever read the book, but there's a book called The Rabbit Listened. And The Rabbit Listened is a book I've actually taught from multiple times. And it is a very simple little book. My 4-year-old loves that book. I know it almost by heart. And
The rabbit what?
The Rabbit Listened.
Oh,
And the book is a wonderful illustration of how it would be so great if we just had somebody to listen to us and not tell us their opinion, not tell us what they think we should do, not even encourage us. Like, when you might be enraged and then you're around people who are like, yeah, you're right, you should be mad. Or when you're avoiding things and people are encouraging you to avoid it, like just being present and listening. That book, it's perfect. It's a great book, but it's so simple, but it's just a reminder of like sometimes the value is in just being present and being calm and being quiet and being available. And that allows for doors to be open and people to feel seen and heard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one you just said. Being available, being present.
Mhm.
Because these days we have a lot of things that takes our attention. We could be together with these youths, but we are not present with them.
Mhm.
We could be carried away by, social media. We could be carried away by the things we do. Being present doesn't leave in whatever we engage in by being present. When I mean present, being 100% present.
Mhm.
Watch them, look at them, try to listen to them. I think that's a skill everyone needs to just, get good at.
Yeah.
We are all in the process to, becoming great listener, trying to give attention. I'm going to go look for that book, The Rabbit Listens.
Yeah.
It's a book that everyone should. I like you rightly said, trying to listen, trying to be calm, to hear what all this is saying, trying to listen to find out where they're speaking from. Are they speaking from a side of a know-how or from an aggressive situation? What could be going through their mind? What are they going through? Trying to empathize and putting yourself in their shoes. I want to say thank you for this session. I think probably we'll take maybe 1 minute break and come.
Yeah.
So, and while we're taking the break, I want to just show a trailer of my book. I just launched my book over the weekend. So thank you. I'll do that right away. Thank you. Welcome back. Sorry. That was a great session, and welcome back from the break. So we need to be there for them. We need to be present. We need to be silent. We need to be available. We could be with them and not be fully present. So we've got to be fully present with them when we want to hear them speak, and try to empathize with them. Be humble. Be ready to listen. Be ready to, I know sometimes they could be, coming from the side of tantrums. You don't know what they're going through. You've got to be calm and not judge them based on their reaction and try to listen to them. You find that when you are able to do that, you're able to get them. If you remember the part in the Bible that says Paul was everything to everyone in order to be able to catch them. So in order for us to be able to catch these young ones, we've got to be like them. Sometimes we might have to bring ourselves to their level. And that's where humility comes. Trying to be like them, trying to understand from what area, what aspect, what could be going on in their mind. And that's where empathy comes to. You want to empathize with them. You want to put yourself in their shoes. What could they be going through? How can I help them? What can I ask them? And that's when you have, heartfelt question coming from your heart, because you're trying to put yourself in their shoes. So you're able to ask them questions that will be able to cause them to speak, probing
Mhm.
questions.
Mhm.
And if you see that they're not listening, just be calm and be around them. Just be calm. When they're in a good mood or when they are ready to speak, you hear them start speaking.
Mhm.
When you keep hammering and asking them questions, they feel like, oh, am I in an interrogative session? Must I answer you? But when you keep calm,
Mhm.
they get to loosen up a bit and they
Mhm.
want to speak. They want to share what their pains are. Thank
Mhm.
you so much. I want to find out from you.
Yeah.
Aside from having those difficult times, were there times that things were very easy for you, things were very clear and enjoyable?
Yeah.
How did you go through it?
Yeah. When times were pretty easy for me and
Yes.
enjoyable. Yeah. So that's most of the time, actually. I mean, most of the time it's just a party. It's fun. I'm just what I'm made to do. They always say that, like, if in a church, you're like, if you want to know where the youth pastor is, find the party, right? And I'm not a youth pastor, but similar mindset. So, um, well, I didn't say this earlier, but so my children are 20 years apart.
Wow.
I had my first child at 18, so Christian will be 25 this year, and I have a 4-year old. And so when I was a pregnant teen, I was the first teen pregnancy in my family, and it was very disruptive. It was very disorienting. I remember my grandmother was like, you're throwing your life away, and all the things that I had succeeded at before that kind of just disappeared in her mind as far as things that I could do moving forward. And so um ironically, that became kind of a fuel for me to be successful and to work really hard. I share that story because I think a part of why um God put this calling on my life to serve young people, and why I have such joy in doing it, and it's rare that I have a hard day, is because I've been a parent longer than I've been anything else in my life, and I am and I also was a young person who was counted out, right? I was a young person who was looked down upon and told that they would be nothing and could not succeed and would not do certain things. And so um, I think when you have people count you out, and then when you're also passionate about young people, it just gives you a different perspective on how to show up. And so um, in my teen parenting wasn't even, I mean, it was hard, don't get me wrong. There was times where we struggled, but it wasn't as hard as some young people. It wasn't as hard as a lot of young people and things they've gone through. And I've gone through a lot of other challenges as well, but if I just think about that particular moment in my life and the changes that I've gone through in 25 years, um actually, what's today? The 27th. February 18th is when I found out I was pregnant 25 years ago. So it
Wow.
it is very much a um yeah, it just gave me a posture of just being present for the kids that are, often counted out. And so that's why I have fun with it. That's why it's fun. It's fun to believe in the impossible, like Walt Disney said. It's fun to dream, right? It's fun to inspire and encourage people who might not see it in themselves, or maybe other people
Yeah.
have told them that they could not be. And
Sure.
so I'm in the game of making dreams come true and believe in things that people might not easily believe in. Yeah.
That's a great one. And you actually did the opposite, because I've seen people who are going through hurting moments and
Hmm.
difficult for them to also manage others who are going through difficult moments.
Yeah.
Because there's a saying that hurting people hurt
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yes, you were hurt. You had difficult
Yeah.
times,
Hmm.
challenges, but you beyond that, you just, came out of your shell to say, okay, how can I be of help to these
Hmm.
young youths? Because you have gone through that phase and you knew how difficult that could
Hmm.
be. And like you rightly said, you said some other people have gone through tougher times than you did. You probably had maybe a less, maybe a more pleasant,
Mhm.
difficult moments. Like you rightly said, that when we go through challenges, they actually fuel us to do more because people have counted you out.
Mhm.
People have looked down on you that you can't do anything of what. And truly, when you go through challenges or you do something wrong, people forget all the past rights you've done.
Mhm.
They start judging you from that moment.
Mhm.
And that's what you face, but you didn't allow that to stop you from becoming your best version. Like you rightly said, because of the things you do, because of the things you've been through, you've made up your mind to help. This has helped you to be able to help the youths who are going through same scenario or something even much more. And
Mhm.
this has propelled you to do more for them. And this has also helped you to inspire and to encourage them, which is actually a great one.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for that answer.
Yeah.
And also want to find out from you, how have you managed the relationships in your life, even before now? Because it is said that relationships are the ships we ride on to destiny.
Mhm.
So relationship is key for everyone. Yes, you can have money when you lose money, but sometimes when you lose relationship, getting it back might be so difficult. So
Yeah.
have you managed your relationships in your life with your
Mm.
family, with the people around you? Have you kept them? Because it is also said that your network is your
Mhm.
networks.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So, um, I'll start with my like professional relationships. So I definitely am somebody who loves very hard, and meaning that I want to add value. Adding value is what I do. It's who I am. It's how I'm wired. And so people
Okay.
who are in my spaces or in my circle usually get the best of me. And they, so I'm like, I spend time with my staff and we just, dream about their lives. And it has, and if that dream and that, and if in that dreaming, their calling is revealed or shifted and they are no longer meant to work with me or with the organization, I help them leave. And it's
Hmm.
very disruptive to them because they're like, why are you helping me leave? Like, and I'm like, I'm not firing you. I'm just, if you're called to do something else, why are you going to stay where you are? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. So, it's really important to me to be present to people's, like I shared, people's dreams, people's goals. I also, so that's a part of how they get the, like, a lot of me, in the time I spend with them. I also am really intentional about gift giving and being like very aware and uh present to things that they like or things that they value. So every Christmas, I throw a ridiculous Christmas party for my staff. It's been anywhere from 35 to 65 people in a year, but I want to be very intentional with specific gifts to each of them, the things that they like, not some like generic, like here's a pencil with our names on it, like something that actually means something to them. So those are things that I try to do with my staff. I also, I'm pretty intentional about their birthdays too. I celebrate birthdays. I'm known as the birthday person. If you actually looked in my office right now, they decorated my office for my birthday. My birthday was earlier this month, so that's like our relationship currency, right? We exchange
Yeah.
on gift giving. For my family, I would say I do the same, but I have to work harder with my family. I naturally um, am a workhorse. When after I had my son Christian, I was all about, I kind of made a vow that I didn't know I made, that I would prove everybody wrong and that I would, you know, just win everything, win every award, win every scholarship, earn every degree, do all these things. And so I became this workhorse. I would work 2 to 3 jobs at the same time, be in school full time. I couldn't just graduate on time. I had to graduate early, or I earned 2 degrees at the same time, not one, but I just always had to like prove and outdo myself. And so work is something that comes very natural to me, including the relationships I have at work. My personal relationships, I have to work hard at. I have to work hard at being a good and present mom. I have to work hard at being a good and present wife. I have to work hard at being a good and present sister and daughter. And so those relationships, this last year, actually, my husband and I agreed to be more intentional about the way we care for our parents. And so um, just took them on trips. And like I went and took a trip with my mom, and he actually took a trip with my dad, mostly because they both like the same things and I really didn't want to go golf or NASCAR. But they just, there's things that they connect with, and that was part of us being intentional about how we love and care for them, and I wanted to be present with them and make memories with them. And we're doing the same thing with our kids. So yeah, I think the gift of time and the gift of thoughtfulness, when it and maybe it's expressed in a gift, maybe it's expressed in a text message, maybe it's expressed in a card, but it's that thoughtfulness and that time. Those are two things that I really try to do in all of my relationships that keep people connected. Mm-hmm.
That's a great one. Helping them to exist, leaving where they work. But that's a great one. You're actually being intentional, getting
Mm-hmm.
to find out what their callings are. But some people don't care. Oh, you're
Mm-hmm.
working for me, you're doing your job, and that's it. But
Mm-hmm.
being involved in their affairs, getting to know them better, getting to find out what are their passions, and helping them to find out their passion, as in having a round peg in a round hole rather than having a round peg in a square hole. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
fit. He's just going to be there for a short while and just work to make money. And a lot of times I found that is what is common.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to survive. And
Yeah.
so they just take any kind of job just because they want to survive. So they don't care if am I passionate about this? This is what I've been called to do. But because they want to be able to, have money to pay their bills, have money to get food in their house, have money to look good, and that's it. But I love what you said, helping them to understand what you're called to do is a
Mm-hmm.
great one. Because when they become who they are called to be, they would always remember you and come back to say thank you, because you are not selfish, you're not self-centered. You want to see them succeed, and you
Mm-hmm.
want to see them succeed in what they have been called to do, not just to help your business grow or help your organization become
Mm-hmm.
one of the best, but helping them to become who they have been called to do. I love what you also said, but being intentional, trying to throw parties and trying to appreciate everyone around you. I love that too. And that's what I do too. But also trying to go a bit further to find out what are the things they value, what are the
Mm-hmm.
what are the things they put so much attention, trying to get specific gift, not just generic, because you want to give something out to people. Being
Mm-hmm.
intentional, loving them and caring for them. Like you rightly said, making out to take your husband's family and he making out time to take your family, your parents out. That's a great one. That blew my mind, trying to connect beyond the ordinary, because normally the only time you get to connect is when you probably go to visit them. But this
Mm-hmm.
time around, going on a vacation with them, you get to see everything about them, they open up because they're in a relaxed atmosphere and they're having fun.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Thank you so much.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Yeah, because I know that life is beyond just being a survivor here on earth and trying to become a success. It's gone beyond just being a success, because success is not a destination, it's only but a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so success to me can mean different things to you. And so life has gone beyond just being successful in what we are called to do, but being a person of significance. When you have enough and you're like, how do I help my community? How do
Mm-hmm.
I give back to the people around me? Because I often tell people, I say, when you see value in yourself, and you will want to add value to yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
when you don't see value in yourself, you wouldn't add any value to yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
rather, you wouldn't give anyone any value. because everything around you is valueless. You have no value for anything, neither your life. So when you see value in yourself, it is said that a leader is one who knows it and shows it to others, not the one who knows it and keep it to himself. But even intending to keep to themselves, they're actually doing themselves a lot of disservice. Because what you keep to yourself ends with you. But what you give out to others spreads out. You think you're actually expanding yourself. But you know what goes around comes around. You know, it is said that what doesn't stretch you doesn't grow you. So if you don't give yourself to people, you think you're doing yourself. And that's why, every time I talk about the reservoir and the river, what I'm meant to be. Are you meant to be a reservoir? Just get from everyone and keep to yourself. Are we meant to get, pass it on to others? So rightly, I told somebody, was it today or yesterday? They were meant to be a river. And our kind of river, he said, the things of God are foolishness to the people of the world.
Yeah.
So when we say we give, others think, oh, you're expending your energy, you're draining yourself, you wouldn't have enough for yourself. But to us, when we give, that's when we have more. So in giving of yourself to serve the youth, in giving of yourself to serve the people around you, we're actually giving back to humanity. And that is living a life of significance. What do you want to be remembered for when you're no longer here?
Yeah.
You want to have a good name. You want people to say, oh, Gina was a very great youth leader. She was this, she was that. Oh, my son was impacted by her teaching. I was able to influence this youth in this community because of Gina's teaching. Beyond that, we are meant to go beyond just being successful and having enough for ourselves, but, extending our care, our love to others. Like you rightly said, that you extend by doing throwing parties, appreciating them, getting to know their birthdays and, celebrating it with them, even when they are not celebrating it, shows a selfless leader, one who wants to, who wants to impact her word. And that's a great one.
Thank you.
And I want to thank our audience who have been on this show. Thank you for being here. I have a question from you, but before I go to the question, is there any unique story or something you want to share? And a lot of times we'll find that when we ask for unique story that's unique to you. And, a lot of times I tell people, I said, your story is what will thrill others. And your story is a great communication tool that, helps others to understand you and to be able to get, oh, what's the summary of today's class? Or what's the summary of today's show? Sometimes those last, the icing of the cake comes at the end of the show. So you might have something you want to share, something that it's, I've not been able to ask you, maybe a probing question to bring that out from you, but you might want to share to our audience before I share the question with you.
I would say, most of my life, I have not done anything on time. And what I mean by that is that I was born 2 weeks early. I, had a baby at 18. I got married at, my late 30s when the rest of my friends are already married, have kids, and many of them were getting divorces, right? It was just like, I've never been in a season of life that aligns with what we might be taught is the order by which life should happen. And when you have lived life in as a disruptor, like maybe not on purpose, but just like you're not lining up with whatever's going on with everyone.
Yeah, you're living a different life.
Yeah, you kind of build a resilience to needing to fit in or needing to be accepted. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have feelings or my feelings haven't been hurt when I have been on the outside. But what it does mean is I've learned to embrace it as a superpower. And it's allowed me to encourage young people in particular that when you're the youngest person in the room, that when you have the least amount of education in the room, that when you have little experience to call from, that when, you might feel out of place, it does not mean that you don't have value. It's then when you should speak up. It's then when you should make sure that what you feel is on your heart should be known. Now, there's a way by which you need to do it with respect and with humility, but you make sure that you do that. I've often been the youngest in the room. I've often been the only woman in the room. I've often been the only person of color in the room, and that's okay, because there's a place for us, and we need to speak up with authenticity in the way that God's formed us, because we can add value. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
yeah.
And just rightly before we call it a day, let me just quickly ask the question.
Yeah.
There's a question for you, Gina. He said, how do you mentor teenagers who have issues on peer pressure?
How do I mentor teenagers who have issues of peer pressure? Well, I mean, kind of what I just said. I mean, look at that. That was Holy Spirit. But just the need to not fit in, especially in a society where, you're made fun of, you're bullied for not being like everyone else. You also, conversely, we also live in a society where you're like honored and worshiped for being so different. So it's finding that middle ground of like figuring out when their opinions don't matter, and when they do matter, what is it that's mattering to you? I think oftentimes when it comes to peer pressure, young people are hearing the echoes in the chamber that they're in, right? It's an echo chamber. So like it's the same people with the same thoughts and the same feelings around them. And it's helpful for them to get around people with different thoughts, with different ideas, with different backgrounds, which deadens the noise of the echo chamber. So a thing I encourage young people to do is get in proximity to people that are different from them, which is, you might say, Gina, they're not going to do that. Well, I also create spaces for them to do that. So I bring young people together from different backgrounds and different experiences so that they can have conversations with one another. It's not that they have to become best friends. It's just that they learn about somebody else and how they're doing life. And then I just spend time with them. Young people value when there's an adult who's going to pour into their lives and show up and be, respectful of their time. And so oftentimes young people get disheartened by adults because adults say one thing and do another. You got to keep your word. You got to keep your word.
Yeah, you've got to be who you are.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why I tell them, I said, an example is worth more than an advice, because they are watching us. They live by examples. And it is said, and that's why you find that from the kindergarten, they start with pictures. But because pictures resonate with them, they tend to remember them. So what you do is like a pictorial diagram. They're actually watching you. So whatever you do is what they tend to do, not what you say. And that's why it is said an example is what more than true advice. It's what more than an advice. People want to see you do, act what you want them to do. You have to leave it. If you don't leave it, it's difficult to tell them. And it's difficult to bring them into that understanding that they have to do what you say. But they do what you do. So whatever you want your kids, the young youth around you to do, begin to act it out, begin to model it, because it's easy for them to follow what you're modeling than what you're saying. And that's what happens. What they see their peers do in school is what they tend to copy, not what they read in books. Like you rightly said, create a new environment for them. Get them close to people they can learn good and positive things from, and it's just a matter of time. What they do over time, they get used to what they focus on doing. Because if they get into another proximity of great minds, they tend to turn out to be great people. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I also want to thank our viewers and everyone who probably might watch this session. If this has been a blessing and you've been able to glean from Gina today, you might want to reach out to her. You can reach out to her through me and I can get you to her. She's actually the youth leader in the Maxwell Leadership. So you might want to reach out to her, get to know how to, manage youth, get into the leadership, Maxwell Leadership for Youth. You can reach out to me. And it is a great platform to belong, the Maxwell Leadership Group. I have changed in leaps and bounds. And I'm shocked at some of the things I do. And I got to get feedback from friends saying, you're doing great. And I'm like, I just felt that I'm just doing what I'm passionate. I love meeting with people. I love impacting people. I believe that life is not lived until we live in others. Just like she's doing right now, she's living a life for the youth. She's helping them to become their best version. So I want to thank you for making our time. I also want to thank our viewers. And till we meet again on our next episode, do have a blessed evening. Bye, everyone.